Andre Wade once again with Just Release. Here to just express about some things on my birthday. Uh, I was thinking when I was doing my last video on how I express on how I feel or how I felt back in the day when we was working in the fields. The fields today in prison is a kiddie show. There's really no fields to work in. And just to show you how change can come about even in prison, there's a lot of units in prison, and there's over 100 and some that don't even have fields. They don't work in the fields. The men that go to prison today don't even work in the fields. They have gardens and they go to work in there, and if they do, they have little whole squads, which is fields, the field squad that goes out every now and then. Many deaths have taken place in Texas prisons from the heat, and they done taken the field squads mostly out of the system, and now what they have is a setup for education programs where loved ones can go to school and try to get an education in prison. But there's a lot of those programs that they are having is meaningless. They're meaningless if your loved one doesn't take part. See, because the men and the women that's over these programs and teaching these programs can care less if you learn or not. They can care less because they're going to get paid regardless if your child graduate, regardless if your child get a GED. They're going to get their checks because they are coming to work every day. These programs can be built to any man or any woman that get incarcerated and don't have education. They can be beneficial. So when you write your loved ones, you speak to them about indulging into these programs, getting their GEDs, because if you're still young and you get out young, these things can help them when they get out. It can help them. I had got my GED in 1996. I had been incarcerated for 6 years at that time. I was one of the highest people in my class that was the highest score. And it felt good to be able to accomplish something, because I hadn't really accomplished anything in my life when it came to educational things, because I was so much living into the streets and being educated of the streets before I had gotten incarcerated in 1990. But it felt good to accomplish something that's so beneficial to right now outside in this society, in this free society. It felt good. And when we write our loved ones, these are the things that we speak about. Not so much of someone in the neighborhood getting killed, somebody having a baby, somebody on crack, because these things are going to take place anyway. These things come into the prisons every day. Every day somebody's going to get a letter telling them about one of their homeboys getting killed or something in that nature. And if you was on the streets with him and you know he was a fool, then you know his time was short anyway. If you know she was messing with such and such and he wasn't no good, then you know she was probably going to end up on crack anyway, or being a hoe. But we are thankful, and we have to be thankful for the outcome that takes place when you do something with your time in these prisons. And when we write these letters and we encourage these men and women to take part of what's free, of what's freely being given to them, because like I say, those fields was hard back in the day. You didn't even have school at one time in prison. They didn't want you to go to school. The line forces was so large. Ferguson had all the way to, I was in 38 hole. That's a lot of people in the line force calling you out early in the morning to go out there and work in them fields. Well, today they're not doing that. So the men that's in prison, the women that's in prison today, they can take advantage and get education. They tell us when we're in court, they give us life. Life is a letter. There's no numbers. They tell us in court that they are giving us life. So at that point, at that time, being so miseducated, you thinking, that's the rest of my life. That's just a part of your life that's being taken from you for the amount of years that you'll have to do on life. Because guess what? As long as you have life, you have an opportunity to get out of prison. See, if you don't get the death penalty, you're not getting out of prison unless you get it overturned. Life, you can make it out of prison. We have to encourage the people that we love that have these kind of sentences. See, because some, when they get life, they just don't care about nothing. So they go into these places, into these prisons with a don't give a damn attitude. And when they're in that state of mind, guess what? They're not even going to help themselves, not let alone somebody else. They're not going to help themselves. They're not going to be willing to receive something that's being freely given to them. Education is being freely given to the men, given freely to the women. When we write them, when we go see them, these are the things that we have to encourage them to do while they're serving these 5 years, while they're serving these 15 years, while they're serving these sentences, these very large sentences. Change has to take place in the mind of the inmates, because like I said in the past, Texas has the largest system in the United States, but they have the sorriest inmates. That's why you don't see a lot of programs where outer states is talking about the inmates in Texas. They're going to downgrade them because the men in Texas are downgrading themselves. So we have to be what they are not. We have to push them. We have to inbreed it within their hearts that there can be better men, that there can be better women, that they can come out and have an opportunity to live regardless on how many years that they've done on them sentences. Because people are waiting for them. People love them. It all starts with them. But we have to be there. We have to be the ones that how we feel about their situations. Express how you really feel, regardless if it hurts their feelings. Express how you feel, because you're the one that is going to affect the most. Andre Wade was just released.